Hi, I'm Graham. I'm a golfer who's passionate about technology and also a caddy in the north coast of Ireland. Me and my team are on a journey to create an app for the golf caddying industry, and while we're at it, we want to speak to as many interesting people creating exciting projects within the golf industry. I believe the future of this game is bright, my friends, and this is the Future of Golf podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Future of Golf podcast. This is episode number 9, and we're joined today by the marketing manager of Inrange Golf, Ian Blunt. And I came across Ian, your product, obviously from first-hand experience using it at the Greenwich Peninsula driving range. And I guess all this started off a LinkedIn post. I wrote about your product and said how impressed I was, and it was very different to Irish facilities. So it's fantastic to have you on.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. It's fantastic to be here to talk to you. I think initially when I saw your podcast was called The Future of Golf, it made sense for us to almost we wanted to be here and spend time with you guys. So I'm glad that you reached out and set it up because we as a company believe we are changing the way that the driving range is experienced and bringing the future to many driving ranges, and Ireland is certainly a place and a territory we would love nothing more than to come over to Ireland and get a few ranges, tracking their golf balls within range. So.
Yeah, there's so many people I've talked to over here that have said a facility like that with real high quality technology would do fantastic, especially outside the cities as well, because we have maybe one or two facilities in Belfast and maybe Dublin, but there's still smaller towns that still have your sort of atypical driving range with just you go in and you get maybe a bucket of balls and that will be pretty much all you get. So I think Ireland is crying out for it for sure. But yeah, so I think we talked a little bit yesterday just to sort of preface the conversation, just a little bit about the technology. But we maybe didn't dive into your life personally and maybe how you got into the game of golf. So would you play the game yourself and how did you get into it?
It's a good question. It's one I get asked quite a lot. I'm not a very good golfer. So it's quite attractive for me to work for a business that is in the golf
Yeah.
industry because it allows me when I'm visiting some of our partner ranges to hit a few balls and to get a bit better. And I mean, I'm not bad, but I'm the kind of person that would play with a round of friends where hitting the ball into the bushes now and then is okay and it's worth a laugh more than
Yeah.
anything else. So personally, I'm not good at golf. But the cool thing is the products that we develop and put into the market are designed for every kind of player. So it's the person who doesn't yet own a set of clubs, like myself, um, right up to the person who is really dedicated to the game. Is either trying to get to scratch or is at scratch and wants to maintain there and using our system to track where their game is letting them down. And that's all built into our app, which for the single player or the practice golfer is phenomenally detailed. I mean, you're talking about carry distances, total distances, ball speeds. You're talking about launch angles of your shots. There's a bunch of graphs that can show you if you're hitting it to the left or the right of the target you're aiming for. All that kind of stuff is now built into every single practice session, and to come back to the title of the podcast, that is the future of golf practice. A player going to a range without technology and just hitting balls into the field is not good enough, I think, in terms of the expectation of the visitor, right? So if you're just a range in the out in the middle of nowhere that's using it as a recreational, just come blow off some steam and hit some golf balls, that's fine. But if you've got players looking to practice, which I think most facilities do, I think technology is becoming the standard expectation of a visitor that wants to practice. Yeah.
hmm And you hear it all the time, recommended either by professionals or people saying how to get better at the game, as they say, practice with a purpose,
Hmm.
and not just go to the range. And it's so tempting. I'm sure people listening to this, they go to the range and maybe 10 balls, they'll hit wedges, they'll practice maybe their distance control, and then they'll just get the temptation just to get the driver out and just start whacking it and trying to get it over the fence. Um, I guess, how does your technology facilitate the development of someone's golf game through being able to look at statistics and say, this is where I need to actually improve my game?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We were looking at some data yesterday across the board. The driver is the most hit club in every territory that
I
we're
would
in, and
say so.
we're in North America, Europe, on the continent,
Yeah.
in the UK, obviously in Africa. We've got some ranges opening up in Australia, and soon we'll be in Asia as well. But across the board, the driver is that club. I think everyone just wants to see how far they can hit the ball. To answer your question, our software, one of the most amazing features I feel that's built into it, and this conversation doesn't have to be product heavy. I think we can talk a bit about the social side. I'm sure we'll get
Yeah,
onto that. But
absolutely.
we developed the very first range handicap, and that allows players to track their short game, their long game, and off the tee, which are three key metrics. Now, we're fully aware that it's not going to match a golf handicap in that we don't have putting, and someone
Mm,
might have a really fire hot putting game that really helps their handicap. But for us, we find that when you're practicing, those are the things you're practicing at the range. It's actually really useful to have a marker. So once you've hit a certain number of shots, to earn your in-range handicap inside of our app, it will convert that into a marker for you. And then when you're aiming at the targets, your targets that you're aiming at are actually set to your skill level.
mm.
So if you're, I think you said yesterday when we chatted, I think you said around about a 6-ish or somewhere around there,
On a
handicap.
good day, yeah, on a
Yeah.
good day.
So your targets would be the size of the targets that you need to aim at on the screen will be set for a 6 or a 7 or an 8 handicap. Whereas when I log into the system, if I'm a 25 handicap, say, it's set for a 25 play. So my markers are actually bigger. And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of technology. And again, that's bringing the future of technology into the driving range space, because you should be practicing at the level of a 7, 8, 9, whatever it is. I should be practicing at my level. And so the system allows every single player to play at their handicap. And as that changes, let's say you're having a
Mhm.
bad month and your numbers are going up, the targets will get bigger, or as you're getting better, the targets will shrink along with you. So we look at it as a customer journey, right? You
Mm.
practice. It's not one session. It's 10 sessions. It's 20 sessions. You need to
Yeah.
consistently be working at it, and that's what we think is really impressive about
Hmm.
our tech.
Yeah, I think that's nice because whenever you're starting the game or maybe you hit a bad patch of form, it can be really demoralizing to go out in the course and you feel like you're so far behind
Mm,
the level that you should be at. Um, and it would be nice to sort of look at statistics in your practice as well to say, no, I am actually capable of shooting these scores. I just need to actually transfer that form out to the golf course. And
mm.
I suppose in your journey working with Inrange, you probably had a lot of opportunities to go out and maybe play corporate events and stuff. Have there been any cool places that your work's taken you?
I've been involved in corporate events, but I haven't actually played in the golf day because, as I say, I don't know if I'd fly the I don't know if I would fly the flag so well,
Yeah,
for those kind of corporate golf days. But
yeah,
I've
gotcha.
certainly been involved. I think the most memorable would be the most recent PGA show. We were out in Orlando. We were
Yeah,
part of sponsoring an event, a pre PGA, and it was a fantastic event. We were out on the course. We actually took real life inflatables,
amazing.
and put them out on the range, because when you play one of our games called Bullseye, there are targets to aim at on the screen, and so we wanted to bring that to life, and that was it was nice to be out in Florida, speak to some of the American players, and as you know, America is just super into their golf.
Mm,
It's a massive market. A lot of rangers are having meetings with us now because they know that to back to the future of things, to become present right now, they need to get tech, and we're seeing a revolutionization of the driving range as a space, and we chatted briefly about that yesterday, in terms
mm-hmm.
of how the actual industry needs to adapt and is currently going, through a revolution to change and to excite a new player, a younger player, and certainly a player that has tech everywhere else in their life. So why wouldn't they have that at the driving range? So
Yeah, absolutely. And I was chatting to a few people that went over to the PGA show. I guess, what did you make of it? Was there any other standout or interesting things you saw while you were over there?
some very cool stuff. I think it was the first sort of back in person event since everything all
Yeah.
got locked down. So there were a couple of sort of empty stands, people that didn't necessarily go, but
Hmm.
they did a good job of not making it very obvious, and so it still felt like a PGA show. It was my first visit there, so for me it
Hmm.
was a kid in a candy store, lots of things to see and lots of things to demo. There's obviously indoor screen stuff that I was interested in. The range servant guys had a nice area, and I believe you've chatted to them as well on the
Yes.
podcast. So um, they had a really cool thing. It's cool to see what they're up to, and just in general, I think it was just nice to have a collective of people that all love the game. There was everything from trophy engraving businesses right through to technology companies like
Yep.
ourselves and all the apparel in between. So the standouts for me was being part of the NGCOA, which is the event we were at, and then I think Tag Marshall is a company that stands out, and,
Hmm.
and hopefully you'll get to chat to them on the podcast. But
So yeah.
that product to me really made sense, and I thought was what they're doing is very smart and speaks very much to the future of gameplay on the golf course.
Yeah. Yeah, there seems to be sort of a few recurring problems or pain points that people bring up in the game, and slow play is
Yeah.
certainly one of them. And even from an economic perspective, like you mentioned, that their business model was that they would actually increase the number of tee times that potentially
Mm.
clubs could offer. And you mentioned about like the likes of Pebble Beach, if they're charging X amount for a game, and then being able to maybe get more golfers actually involved.
Mm.
It makes a lot of sense that.
There's an interesting thing there, and I had a conversation with them, and we spoke about it yesterday. Is the idea of incentivization? I think is massive. I think in the world we live in today, you need to start thinking slightly ahead of the curve, and incentivizing people to visit your range, before someone else's. For in our business is the idea of having technology,
Mhm.
and for them, you need to look at it. The customer is always going to ask, "What's in it for me?" Right? When I worked in sales, the WIFM mentality, as they call it, which stands for "What's in it for me," was big. And as consumers of everything, we're starting to ask ourselves, "Well, what's in it for me now?" And we're seeing a massive explosion in terms of in the crypto space, which we touched on. There's play to
Mhm.
earn. There's now companies looking at watch to earn, where just for watching that specific online event, you're going to get tokens and receive some kind of reward. And I
Mhm.
think the really forward thinking people, and I consider InRange and us part of that discussion for sure, need to start looking at the space and saying, well, how can we incentivize the players? And I
Mhm.
think the tag marshal system is a beautiful example of that as well, where it's the
Mhm.
player is going to say, well, what's in it for me if I speed up, right? If they don't have a carrot to dangle at the end of that, end of that line, for some guys, well, this is my Sunday off. I actually want to take as long as possible. Is the
Yeah.
argument, because I have this time outside without the kids, without the family, and using it as like a refresher, to
Mhm.
be positive mental health and all that kind of stuff. So to speed up play, well, what's in it for me? And it's the same for the driving range, right? So
Mhm.
I think the question a lot of businesses should be asking, well, what are we actually doing for our members? Yes, we're giving them a round of golf, or yes, we're giving them an hour in a bay, but is that enough?
Yeah. Before we jumped on, I suppose yesterday you mentioned that idea of creating some sort of competitive element to it in which
Mm-hmm.
golfers could aim for a target,
Mm-hmm.
and there would almost be prizes on offer. So we were talking just about the idea of you see it on TV, the professionals in a par three, they get the hole one and they get the car. Actually bringing that to a commercial driving range for amateurs to be able to go to.
Yeah.
I guess where is that in your pipeline as far as development?
In my dream pipeline, it's the next thing I'm going to work on.
Yeah.
In the realistic pipeline, there is a lot going on. Look, we just launched a brand new virtual golf course because part of our Inrange Plus multiplayer system, you can play 18 rounds of golf where you're in the bay hitting the ball like you normally would, but on the screen the ball's traveling around a golf course, so into
Hmm.
bunkers, into the water, into the rough, out of bounds if I'm playing, most likely, right? But it's so we've just launched that. We've also just brought a new game to the market just before that called Destroyer, and that's a much more family friendly game. So what
Hmm.
we've done is something that we haven't seen before, and this came about over quite a good amount of hours spent on the range. The range is not yet a space for families, and when I say that, I'm meaning more for younger children.
Hmm.
And it's difficult, right? Golf's not easy. So even if your first target is sort of 30, 40 yards away, that's still a half decent shot, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's not easy. And so what we did with that game was we put a launch pad in the very front of the range where our technology is sharp enough to track short shots as short as sort of a couple yards.
Hmm.
And so, a little boy or a little girl going out with mom or dad can now just hit a little shot, and it will hit that launch pad, which then sends the ball all the way back at a kind of randomized way, which will then drop their bomb on the range, and they'll see it explode, and they get points, and they're
Yeah.
still in the game, right? So we're focusing on those kind of things right now, but certainly the incentivization of what's in it for the player is it's in my mind all the time. I probably
Hmm.
spend 80% of my time thinking about that, but I only get about 20% of time to actually start putting those plans together. So we've got
Yeah.
big plans, and the future of the driving range is exciting.
Mm.
I don't think anyone really knows what it is yet, but we certainly have some pretty good ideas as to where we think we can go, and we partner with rangers that have that kind of mentality. Right? We want that kind of entrepreneurial
Forward thinking.
spirit of this could actually be pretty great, like and get it. There's still a
Hmm.
lot of resistance to technology, I feel, and I feel that personally, I feel that that's a mistake because that is the world that we live in, right? So we have to try and help the
Yeah.
industry catch up, because I do think that if we look at other industries, I do think the driving range space is behind the curve in terms of
Hmm.
being updated enough to satisfy today's customer. So
Yeah. And I said yesterday, I suppose the thing that parallels the driving range to me is the bowling industry. So I'm sure everyone has went to play a game of bowling and they've seen the technology available there. So obviously you have the ball dispenser where you don't have to lift a new ball every time. You have your speed of your ball in some facilities now as well. So do you see the parallels between the bowling industry and what you guys are trying to achieve in the driving range?
yeah, 100%. Look, this is the easiest way to say it. We operate, and when I say we, meaning our technology and a driving range, we operate not in the golfing business anymore. We're not in the golf industry. We're in the entertainment space. And very much like bowling had to revolutionize itself, in the 90s, bowling was a professional sport, and a very well lauded and well watched and well supported professional sport.
Hmm.
But come late 80s, early 90s, that was really dying out because people were more interested in the internet and all sorts of other things that were going on around the world, right? So they had to make a plan, or they would kind of die out, and making it social, making it entertainment, making it something you can do on a Friday night with your friends, irrelevant of your skill level, made the bowling industry one of the most successful entertainment spaces in the world. I think we
Hmm.
released an article recently about that, and I think, and my numbers might be incorrect here, but I'm going to have a go anyway. I think it was
Give it a
something like
crack.
165 million people a year book a bowling session or something like that, right? And so it's a $6 billion industry or somewhere around those lines, right? So
Hmm.
it, if Rangers, and we are starting to see this, so we've got a new client launching in 2 months in London who is firmly understands it, gets it, and is one of the more progressive thinkers. Driving range now is an entertainment space. It will always be for golfers, and golfers will always be able to practice at those facilities. But the success story in the next decade or 2 decades of driving ranges is firmly going to be in the entertainment space
Hmm.
and that element of social golf. Just like the bowling alley, it doesn't matter if you throw the ball in the gutter 9 times out of 9. Just like the driving range, and on a night out at Greenwich, I see people hitting golf shots that would be considered the bowling ball in the gutter, let's say, right?
Yeah,
The equivalent, right? It's
yeah,
just a shank. It's just a complete
yeah.
shank.
Hitting the
But
wall beside
those
them.
exactly, but those people, it's funny because when you study the game and you study the space as much as I have and we have as a business, those people are having the most fun,
Mm.
right?
I I
Because
think back to
yes,
that as
winning
well
is fun.
because whenever you start golf, like the first few times you go out in your course, you have absolutely zero expectations,
Yeah,
and even the glimmer of a good shot, it's just like it's just pure joy because you think, geez, I've hit the ball 60 or 70 yards. It's got
yeah,
remotely closer to the flag, and it's
yeah,
just like I think touching back on what you talked about of like the maybe the younger boys and girls like having some sort of thing in a screen for them to see, oh, I actually registered my shot. I'm not just standing here and hitting pointless shots.
mm,
I I think that is really fun. And like that's incredible as far as the numbers in the bowling. I had no idea. And I guess when you think of like the top sports in the world, like you wouldn't think of bowling in there at all. Yet the participation is so high, and I could only imagine if I guess products like yourself and Topgolf executed on a global scale
mhm.
in 10 to 20 years time, like no doubt with the falling of golf that something like that, as far as participation numbers can be brought in, and what that would mean for the game would be huge.
And I think it's interesting because you touched on Top Golf there, who I think 100% you'll agree, and that kind of is a good time that they're in the entertainment space. They're not. That's not a golf experience. It's an entertainment experience that just happens to be with a golf club and a golf ball, right? And what we're seeing is with our software and with our products, the entire experience that a player can receive at the range and a non-player, more importantly, can experience at the range is making a massive difference to the bottom line of driving ranges, right? Because the bays, instead of one player per bay, can go now four, sometimes on some of our bigger ranges 6 people in a bay. That's 5 extra people that are there that are going to have a drink, going to possibly have food, going to take a photo and tag it on Instagram and say, "Here I am in London at the driving range." So they're doing free marketing and advertising for you. It's all about the experience, right? And we're involved with Design My Night over here, and that's a an online sort of what to do in London kind of thing. And the reviews coming through are just people are having a great time. People are going out on a stag do, and the first stop of the stag do is the driving range.
Yeah,
Now, when has that ever been thought of before? Not really, but it's happening. And the beauty of the social golf game is that for us, and I was in a meeting this morning with one of our up and coming clients. They are also launching in North London
hmm,
in April, and I was just saying to them, the way we look at it is we're the social grease, right? We're just the facilitator. Our system has 5 really great games, which and virtual courses on top of that, which is a great reason to just visit the range. The majority of the money that facilities are going to make is going to be outside of the technology. It's not about
yeah,
the £2 more or 150 that they charge more per bucket. It's about having those people all there on a Friday night that stay for 2 hours after they've left their bay to have drinks, to listen to the live music, to etc., right? And
hmm,
some of our ranges have seen an uptick of 40-50% uptick in food and beverage. One of our ranges has
yeah,
seen a 50% increase in the number of family visits that go to their site since installing Inrange, and that was an interesting one because they switched out their technology from a different provider to Inrange, and they
hmm,
saw a 50% uptick in family visits because of all the games and that kind of thing, which is great. But just having the technology installed, some ranges have seen 4 times revenue increase, which is amazing.
hmm,
But the true success is the longevity, because if people come, they have a good time, it's social, there's a few drinks, and you think, man, that was a fun Friday night or a date night. We see many of those in London. Like, you go out, oh, what should we do for a date? I want to do something different. You go out and you play golf, play the games, have a
Yeah.
laugh. People remember that, right? And they tell their friends about it. And we, as I say, we're seeing a massive revolution. It's not about installing tech. We're not a product. We're not designing a product. We're not developing a product. Sure, that's what we do, but why we do it is because we believe that the experience at the driving range is, it could be so much better, and at every single range, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely imagine that a golfing date would suit me better than sitting in the cinema with dark lights, and you
Yeah.
just there's not a very social experience, and still, a lot of people do that. Just also to play maybe devil's advocate in one point you mentioned there. So, obviously the core of your product is obviously the technology, and then the potential then to upsell to golfers who are coming, so groups of 5 and 6 provide more services. Is there still a gap there for the golfer that just wants to go to the range, maybe by himself? Maybe he has a free half hour and just wants to practice, and maybe isn't in the market for these upselling options.
For sure. The When we talk about the range experience, we talk about the experience on two levels. We have what we say is the practice experience, and we have the play experience, which is the fun side. Now, I think what you've touched on is a very good point, because I think some rangers think that installing technology or having this kind of system just makes it all of a sudden a massive party, right? And it's just stag doos, downing beers and singing drinking songs. And to be
Hmm.
quite frank, we don't really see that at any of our sites, right? There is a social element to it, but it's still all relatively well behaved fun. But that stuff happens at a certain time of day. So I'll use Greenwich as an example. Now, that's a 60 bay facility with
Mm.
I think 6 coaching bays, and it's a double story, full featured range, right? I think their range is filled with practice players up until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on most
Hmm.
days, 3, 4. And then from about 5 o'clock onwards, the social
Yeah.
stuff starts kicking in, because we're all working. Those people have found a gap in their diary, or they maybe live in Canary Wharf, or they have the day off. You get both experiences. But our
Hmm.
product, speaking of that in-range app, speaking of the features in the in-range app, all that kind of the data capture, the club by club, features, that is all relevant to the player, but that changes the experience that they have at the range. And then the social side is the experience of a different kind. And there's a crossover, right? The serious golfer will still practice in the day, and then on the weekend say, hey, why don't we all come and
Yeah.
play a round of virtual golf with some of his friends, or play the games and stuff? So there is a crossover, but it's not a pure, we don't expect and we don't see entertainment 24/7 from 8 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. So it
Yeah.
is two different experiences. The main thing for us is that people, both players and rangers, need to, in a way, understand, or at least come to terms with the idea that things are changing, and that the expectation of any visitor, be it a golfer or a non-golfer, to the range, the expectation is higher than it ever has been, and technology has become a minimum requirement of, like, I
Yeah.
expect to be able to hit shots and know how far. Just like when you go for a run, Strava, gives you the data of that run, or
Yeah.
when you
Exactly.
go traveling, you can use it to look up certain things. We're living in that age, and we're seeing the driving range, really really start to change. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So I've probably maybe only had two or three experiences of driving around technology. So one of them was yours in London. The other one, there's one outside Belfast. It's called Colin Glen Driving Range. I'm not sure what technology they use. I don't think it's in range. But I wouldn't even think twice to go to the other ranges in the area, to be honest,
Mm.
because I know I have the technology there. Me and one of my mates, he wouldn't have been massive into golf, but we would always went up religiously on a Monday night and played virtual golf at these courses.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant because I think in their system, like they had St Andrews or something on it, so we could go play that course, and it was just a laugh,
Yeah.
it was so much more fun than like standing by yourself, like lonely in a range, beating balls into nothing really and not knowing how you're improving. So I guess from like a real like bird's eye perspective, like what role do you think your company has then in growing the game? Do you ever think about the significance of what you're trying to do within the game?
100%. I think it's a very good question. I think it's something we discuss more often than you'd think. We are very much thinking one step ahead, and I think if one was to, if you say bird's eye view, look at golf and the driving range, the average age of visitors to golf courses and driving ranges for the traditional model has been a slightly older clientele, right? And it's really important for these clubs to focus some of their time trying to capture younger players or trying to attract people to the range who have never picked up a club before, right? And I think we could agree that golf from the outside does look like quite a scary game because it's difficult.
Mm,
And so I think some of the stuff we've talked about already in here speak to that. So the development of that destroyer game to appeal to a younger clientele is one step for us to try and attract younger people in. And the social side really and truly is there to attract people to the range who've just never done it before because it's not about being good at golf. And a percentage of those people are going to be better than they thought they were. And it's our hope and belief, and based on just what we're seeing, that that's just the tinder that sort of lights that fire that they go, actually,
mhm,
I'm not that bad. Maybe I'll come back and try it by myself one day. And then that leads to 2 months later, or I'm just going to buy a second hand set of clubs for now, which leads to 12 months later, I'm going to buy my first brand new set of clubs. And 6 months after that, oh, I'm actually going to go play around on a course now with my friends. And that
mhm.
all just started with a Thursday night with friends. Let's have a beer after work and
Yeah,
hit golf balls. And so we very much want to grow the game. We sponsor actually two junior players in Abu Dhabi. They play on the sort of the
awesome.
juniors tour. So we sponsor them, and we're looking to get involved in the ladies game. I'm actually talking to something very interesting uh, when we were at the PGA Show. We made some connections. I'm talking to the USA Disabled Golf Association. We met the guy who's the president of the foundation and one of the players. They're coming
Hmm.
out to London to play in the world's largest disabled golf tournament. They're actually playing a Ryder Cup equivalent near London in May. And we're
Amazing.
looking to host some of them at London just for a practice session, and they can try out the tech and play some games with their wives and their families that they're coming out with. So, as I say, we are very proactive. I, as a marketing manager, am always thinking, what could we do that's a bit different, and what's going to help break that stigma of golf is for college shirts, long pants. You have to be very formal. You can't make too much noise, kind of thing, because
Mm,
there is that is there, and there is a place for that and a time for that. But a bit of a sort of behind the curtain look from the PGA show, to let you know and your listeners know, every fireside chat and discussion that I wasn't involved in, just as a viewer, was
mhm,
all talking about the game is changing, and we all just need to relax a little bit and understand that a range with someone with a cap on backwards, and a football jersey and a pair of jeans, just having a hit and laughing about it, is becoming the customer that's going to bring you even more people to play and spend money at your facilities. So yeah, we are trying to think one step ahead, but things
mhm.
are also changing at a rapid pace. So
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of things going on. And I think it's interesting there. All of what you talked about is very long term based. So it's thinking about the guy with the backwards cap in the driving range. Very well may be a five handicap in 5 years' time that will be a member of a golf club that will bring in recurring revenue. And definitely one of my passions is to lower the barrier of entry to the game of golf and
mm,
make it accessible for anyone and not be at a stupid price where people can't afford it. And not to feel that there is any sort of stigma as far as class or any barrier of entry to the game. Ultimately, we're hitting the ball at a target, and I don't think that should be viewed as elite. And as you mentioned there is maybe a time and space for competitiveness, and I think that is certainly an important element to golf. But yeah, I admire your vision of the company of just of trying to get more people into the game of golf. I think that's what all of us are really trying to do.
It has to sort of start somewhere, we also involved with one of the universities over here. We kind of helped their university team come out, or one of the colleges here. We let them go and practice at the London facility as well, because I think, this podcast is about the future of the game, and I think the future of anything is always going to be in the youth, always, right? Because that's just the nature of time. We get older, someone else is younger, then someone's going to be younger than those people at some point in time. And the next pros on the PGA Tour are currently in college right now on scholarships, hitting balls and trying to break through, to get onto tour. So we do keep the future in mind, and we everything we develop, everything we build. And we talked about it yesterday about incentivization. And we've had conversations about what could we do for the player that's going to make this experience even better, and how can we incentivize someone to play at the range and keep coming back to the range, and also not to give up, because golf is hard. Golf
Yeah,
is
no,
really
exactly.
hard, and
I,
it's just about just play, just start by playing, and then focus on getting better, because it's not easy. It's something that I think everyone's wanted to snap a club at some point in time if you're a practicing, golfer. But
yeah.
our software and our system, and as I say, the experience we're trying to create is trying to make things more transparent and easy for you to say, this app tells me that I'm actually really struggling with this club or with that area of my game. That's all I need to work on today. I don't need to drive
Yeah.
myself crazy with all the things. I just need to get better in that one area, and that means my overall game's getting better. And that's the experience we want to deliver.
Hmm.
And then using the social side to bring more females to the sport as well. There's a group of ladies in London, actually. We're doing some stuff with them, that they've started a social club, and it's just a group of ladies that go out and they play, and then they have a few drinks afterwards, and it's a social thing. But it's a business and golf thing, so they're all very corporate people. They have corporate jobs. They might be lawyers, or they might be accountants, whatever it may be in the city, but they get together to talk about something other than business, and
Hmm.
that's golf, and that's having fun on the range and stuff. So
Hmm.
we have to, I think, open up the game to new people.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point you talk about the frequency of getting people back to the driving range, because like anything, I've just started guitar recently, and the first time I picked it up, like, I was horrible. Just the noise in me was horrible, and it just strikes me that to get good or to really enjoy anything, you have to be relatively consistent with it, and you have to stick at it for a longer period of time. And I guess going to the driving range by yourself might be quite a lonely experience whenever you're starting off, like not being able to get the ball off the ground and you maybe feel embarrassed. I guess your technology is maybe helping that, because as you say, back to the younger people, like it's giving them a little bit of motivation to see in the screen that they're actually doing something.
Hmm.
But yeah, going back maybe to sort of shorter term, like within the next 12 months, you mentioned a lot of projects there, but is there anything exciting that you're working on that's going to be coming up within this year?
We've got well, we're a sponsor of the Golf Federation of the UK. And so we've got an event coming up that we're going to be at next month, and that's in Birmingham. It's like their annual get together, so we'll be there and present, which will be good. We've got
Hmm.
another course to launch, or that's going to be launched in the next couple of months. So that's something exciting to look forward to. I always
Cool.
love it when a new course comes out, whether it's a real course or a fictional course. The most recent course we released is actually for beginners, and it's a fictional course. It's not. It doesn't exist in real life. It can only be played on the system, which I think is quite cool. There's a certain element of playing the real course in real life, like a St Andrews, or for instance, we've got
Yeah.
Bethpage Black or Whistling Straits on our system, which is great. But there is also something about just playing an undefined course, because it makes it more of just like a game, and just a fun thing to do,
Yeah.
rather than a sort of serious thing. But so we've got another course which will come out, and then I can't give too much away, but the gaming experience is very much, there's a lot of interesting developments and ideas from our
Hmm.
side that's the next phase. Now, whether that comes out this year, it might be towards the back end of the year. If not, it certainly will be in the future. But as I say, I can't give too much away. But we are starting to really look at the how can we ramp up the social element of the
Mm.
multiplayer stuff, because it's great already, but how could we just take it that one little notch up and add that sort of element of personalization to it, right?
Mm.
Which I think players, excuse me, will appreciate, and
Yeah.
it does make it more fun, right? So
Hmm. Yeah, and obviously over the last maybe year and a half, there's been this huge emergence of VR and metaverses and Web
mm.
three. How much of that do you see intertwining with your strategy going forward in the next sort of 5 to 10 years?
It's certainly there. It's certainly part of the conversation. We've got a couple of crypto slash NFT slash metaverse fans and people in our business, of which I'm one of them. And again, that comes just back to being current and really making sure we're one sort of step ahead. I've got a meeting next week with a US company that's going to be, I can't give away again too much information because it's kind of their project, but
Hmm.
within the metaverse, it's going to be a golf experience. Call it a golf world or golf land or golf. As I say, they've got lots
Hmm.
of things that they want to build an experience where you can go into the sort of arena, shall you call it, and there's going to be a pro shop where you could select goods for purchase. There's going to be a chipping area, there's going to be like a bar area with TVs playing, and there will be a driving range, and the initial talks are that we're going to be the name on that driving range, be it the logo and that kind of thing. And it
Mm.
will be a simplified version. Most likely, it's a walk up, to a bay, and the one of the inflatables will just be on the field, and you can, hit a fake virtual golf ball onto the target and get points. And
Yeah.
there's still lots of conversations as to what you can do with those points and all that kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
I think the metaverse is, from what the last projections and all the research, is an $800 billion industry. It's predicted to be in the next sort of 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And games, having fun, going back to that experience, like a metaverse has to be an experience. You need to take off that headset and go, man, that was actually a lot of fun. I'm going to speak to three of my other friends and see if they want to do that next Friday. And I think golf translates quite well to that kind of space, because,
Yeah.
you know, if I'm standing here and you're in Ireland and one of our friends is in the US, we could all meet in the virtual golf world and have a little hit. We can laugh at the duff shots and stuff just as
Yeah.
much as we could in the real world. So
Yeah, in one of my previous podcasts, I was talking to a guy, Alex. He founded a game called Pixel Links Golf, which
mm,
is basically that, bringing like this metaverse golf experience. But the thing that appeals to me is meeting people from around the world in a place where I can visit for half an hour, chat to them, play a bit of golf, and then come off. And I think people are maybe a little bit afraid of the metaverse and a concept of, oh, I'm gonna sell myself to this game and I'm going to be on it for all day. But
mm.
if it's just an addition to your life and you can go on for half an hour, meet people, and then come off, I think there could be a lot of exciting things that can
Yeah,
go
for
with it
sure.
for
And I
sure.
think, again, just looping back to that incentivization is key. I think inside there you could have competitions, right? That,
Mm,
the highest score for the day gets a prize, or, there could be a leaderboard and the top 10 on the leaderboard all get some kind of prize, or they can get tokens which they can cash in for something else. And, imagine a world where, I do understand that it's scary, but imagine a world where you can go to that golf experience, play around, and let's say you're one of the winners and you get given 100 golf coins or whatever it's called, but you can now go spend those golf coins on a real, Puma shirt in the shop, in the pro shop, that once you click,
yeah,
buy, you actually receive, Amazon knocks on your door, and there's a shirt that you can wear, and you've done it
yeah,
just for hanging out and having fun with your friends. And to me, that world that world makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the guys at Golf Coin will be happy that you shouted them out. There actually is a Golf Coin.
Oh,
I,
really? Okay,
yeah. That was maybe episode 2 or 3 of the podcast I did.
gotcha.
But it's funny. Like I've spoken to maybe 4 or 5 golf, maybe NFT projects or
Mm,
metaverse projects, and I see them sort of all intertwining to nearly collaborate
mm,
potentially in one space. And
mm,
okay, there might be different versions, but I definitely see a lot of collaboration in this space and helping each other. Just like you say, the Inrange would be the logo to a driving range. But Ian,
mm.
that was absolutely fascinating to hear your insights and obviously the current state of the driving range world and also your plans for the future. So if people want to maybe check out Inrange Golf or maybe to go to a facility near them or if not, check out your sites wherever they go in person or online.
Yeah, so just inrangegolf.com is our website. That's the easiest place to go. There's a find and book section there, which shows people where all of our sites are. As you stated at the top of the hour, I suppose we're not in Ireland as yet, but by all means, if you or any of your listeners are at a club that you think, look, my club is awesome, but it could be taken to the next level, then by all means, just tell them to reach out to us, and we can start the discussions. The setup, the installation, all that kind of stuff is actually a lot simpler than people think. So it's not a top golf type thing where you have to dig up the entire field and put things under the sensors and all that kind of thing. So Inrange Golf, if you want to find us, or if any of your listeners, or if anyone's going to be in London, we're soon to have 5 sites in London. So we've pretty much got London north, south, east, and west. And then obviously we were in the States, South Africa, etc. At Inrange Golf on Instagram, if you want to follow us, we put a new announcements on there. We talk about our tech, what it does. It would be great to just, as I say, follow now and then. We just put funny golf content on there just for a bit of a laugh and that kind of stuff. So you can kind of follow along there. But as I say, we're a community at the end of the day. Anyone's more than welcome to reach out to us if they have an idea, if they think, oh, it'd be so cool if your software could do this. What we love the most is our players send us emails after they've had a session or 2 or 3, and they say, have you thought about this? Or, hey, this would be a nice feature. And the funny and positive thing is most of the time our response is, you're thinking exactly the right way because we've been talking about this for 2-3 months and we're trying to get it into the roadmap. So our players are really thinking the right way. But as I say, keep them coming. If there's a golf day, if there's a golf tournament, if you're a good golfer and you're going to be in London and you want to come try out the system, by all means just reach out to us, because we're very much a community. As I say, we're not a product that people buy. We're a partner with our ranges, but then over and above that, we're trying to create an experience. And you had a great experience in London, which is why this conversation came about, and others. And that's really what it's about. We want someone who is maybe, oh no, I'm not much of a golfer, to give it a go, and to then go, actually, that was a lot of fun, and I'm
Yeah.
going to do it again, and I'm going to take my friends, my brother, my sister, my partner, my son or daughter, whatever it might be.
Absolutely. We'll have to go full circle, and I'll come back to the Greenwich driving range. We can maybe
Yeah,
hit a few balls out there for sure. Hopefully, I'll
yeah.
be in London at some point this year.
Bring a little crew. We'll get some of our guys, and we could have like a challenge, 4 of us versus 4 of you, or something like that.
Sweet.
Winner buys the drinks or something like that. So.
It's on. It's on. Ian, that was an absolute pleasure. I'll let you go. But yeah,
Thanks,
that was
Cam.
the next episode of the Future of Golf podcast. Please leave any comments down below. And thanks again for listening. Thanks for watching the episode of this podcast. If you've made it this far, you can continue the fun on Discord, our Twitter, and also subscribe to this YouTube channel.